The ship Endeavor drifted through deep space like a dark leaf on a black river. Inside, the bridge lights were low, and the sound was only soft beeps and the occasional breath. Captain Jake Morrison stood by the main window and watched the slow spin of distant stars. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. He had been out here 3 months, mapping safe routes for trade ships, listing new rocks and quiet worlds, staying far from trouble. He wanted another quiet day. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, the comms officer, sat at her console with a mug cooling near her elbow. She listened to routine traffic, weather alerts, cargo logs, some bad jokes from a mining tug. Then her screen flashed red. A thin needle of sound cut through the background noise. Amy sat up. "Captain," she said, hand to her headset. "I'm getting a distress signal, weak, far, Kepler sector." Jake came to stand behind her. "B-band," Amy said. "Not human standard, but close." She tapped, cleaned the static, and the bridge speakers breathed to life with a strange, musical voice. "Please, anyone who hears this, we are dying. The Ravagers have come. Our defenses have failed. We beg the stars for help before our world becomes ash." The bridge fell still. Even the air felt quiet. The voice returned, clearer. "This is Elder Luminara of the Zephyrian people calling from Aurora Falls on Kepler 442b. The Korach fleet has destroyed New Garden Colony in Crystal Valley. 3 million dead. They are moving toward our capital. Our shields are failing. We have never built weapons of war. We do not know how to fight. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. We have children here, so many children." Then the line broke. Static swallowed the plea. Dr. Helen Price, the ship's science officer, turned in her chair. "Captain, Zephyrians are herbivores, farmers, healers. Their history shows almost no internal violence. No armies, no police. They won't survive a day against the Korach." Jake knew the Korach. Some called them the Ravagers, some the Korach Empire. He had seen their work on barren moons used as practice grounds. He had read the reports that hid the worst parts between lines. The Korach liked to break worlds and keep skulls. They ate their enemies. They loved fear. Lieutenant Commander Bill Carter, Jake's second, cleared his throat. "With respect, sir, Earth Command policy is clear. We don't interfere in local conflicts. We're explorers." Jake didn't answer at once. He looked at the black window and saw nothing but his face and the soft stars. "They're not an army down there," he said. "They're people who grow food and sing to plants, and monsters are eating them." He turned. "Amy, open a quantum channel, emergency priority." Amy hesitated. The quantum net cost power and favors, but she nodded. "Yes, sir." The main screen lit. After a stretch of tight seconds, Admiral Lisa Chen appeared, gray hair pinned back, uniform neat, eyes like coals. "Captain Morrison," she said, "I received your emergency code. Report." Jake did. He spoke of the distress call, the Zephyrians, the Korach. As he spoke, the Admiral's expression shifted from tired to grave. "Are you requesting authorization for military intervention, Captain?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. The Korach are committing genocide." Admiral Chen held his gaze for a long moment. "Jake, what you're asking isn't a destroyer escort. It's more. You're asking me to break open a sealed box. If I agree, the galaxy will see something we have kept hidden for half a century. Are you ready for that weight?" Jake thought of the voice on the line, simple and afraid, of children behind weak shields. "Yes, ma'am." The Admiral exhaled once. "Then God help us all, I am authorizing Protocol 7 Alpha." The words felt heavy when they hit the air. Amy looked up. Bill straightened. Dr. Price mouthed, 7 Alpha. "What is that?" Jake asked, careful. "Classified at the highest level," Admiral Chen said. "But you'll know soon. Expect support within 6 hours." The screen went black. The bridge crew looked at Jake. He had no answers for them. He opened his mouth to say as much when Amy's console chimed again. "Captain," she whispered, "I have a ship dropping out of hyperspace behind us. Large. It isn't on any registry. It doesn't show on sensors either. I only see it because it's blocking starlight." Jake turned to the rear display. For a heartbeat, he saw nothing. Then the darkness rippled and a ship appeared, a blade of night, flat black, no lights, no name, only the shape of a hunter that didn't need to brag. "Incoming transmission," Amy said. A man's voice came over the speakers. Calm, level. "Endeavor, this is Silent Fang. Colonel Steve Harper commanding. We're here to help with your pest problem. Request permission to come aboard and brief your people on what happens next." Jake and Bill exchanged a look. "Permission granted, Silent Fang," Jake said. Docking Bay 3 will meet you there. The docking bay smelled like metal and cold. Jake stood with his senior officers on the bright floor and tried not to feel small. The black shuttle slid in and settled with a whisper. The ramp came down. A man in his 40s stepped out. Short gray hair, light scars that did not advertise themselves. Uniform black as void with only a small silver paw print at his collar. "Captain Morrison," the man said. His voice matched the one on the radio. "Colonel Steve Harper, Companion Program, thank you for calling us in." "Companion Program?" Bill murmured. "What is?" Harper lifted 2 fingers, friendly but firm. "You'll see." He turned toward the shuttle and made a soft clicking sound with his tongue. Something moved in the shadow. It stepped into light. The wolf was the size of a small horse. Silver-gray fur, darker at shoulders and tail, eyes ice blue and intelligent. Not clever like a dog. Intelligent like a person who knows the joke and waits for you to get it. The wolf walked to Harper and sat at his side. "This is Ghost," Harper said, resting a hand on the big head. "We've been partners 8 years. Ghost looked at Jake. The wolf's gaze was steady and strangely kind. He made a sound like a polite greeting. Dr. Price swallowed. How is this possible?" "Genetics," Harper said. "Neural link. Half a century of careful breeding, but that's not the secret. The secret is the bond. He isn't my pet. He is my partner." More figures emerged. Another wolf, darker, green eyes bright. A third. A fourth. Soon there were 12 wolves, each different, each watchful. Then a shape like a hole in the air blinked into view, a black panther, smooth as oil, moving like a shadow that chose to be seen. With her came a woman in her 30s, calm and alert. Other shapes followed. German shepherds with compact gear vests. Eagles with wings too wide for the bay, they folded them close and peered with sun-bright eyes. Each animal stood by a human who looked like Harper, quiet, focused, dangerous in the way a blade is dangerous even when sheathed. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stared at one of the shepherds. He stared back. Harper smiled slightly. "Rex," he said. The shepherd made a series of sounds, short, patterned barks, not random. "He says hello," Harper translated, "and asks if you handle communications. He respects comms. Clear messages win fights." Jake felt the floor tilt under his feet. He ran ships. He knew engines, cargo, star maps. He did not know how to fit this into his world. "How long has Earth done this?" he asked. "Since the first colony wars," Harper said. "We found that our oldest allies wanted to come to the stars with us. Not as pets, as equals. We didn't tame them. We made a deal." He looked back toward the shuttle. His face softened. "And today," he said, "you'll meet our queen." Jake frowned. "Queen?" Harper's answer was a quiet smile. "Briefing room?" he asked. They walked, a strange parade of boots and paws. As they passed, the Endeavor's crew stopped and stared. Some stepped back, some stepped forward like children meeting legends. Ghost's ears flicked at every sound. The panther slid like living night along the wall. In the briefing room, Harper lit a hollow of the Kepler system. Red icons swarmed the blue-green world. "Korech order of battle," he said. "They like numbers, power, fear. They fight loud. They expect loud in return. That makes them slow." He touched a control. The red swarm broke into clusters. "We don't fight loud," he said. "We fight like what we are, hunters, guardians, partners." He pointed to the map. Aurora Falls is the capital. The Zephyrians call themselves Singers of Light. Their cities grow from living crystal. Their customs say you keep your voice soft near gardens so the plants are brave. They will stand their ground for others, but not with weapons. If the Korech breach the city shields, it will be slaughter. "What can we do?" Jake asked. Harper's eyes moved to him, steady and bright. "We go down. We break the ground attack. You stay in orbit and pull civilians when we make space. If the Korech pivot to orbital fire, we climb and bite." "Bite what?" Bill asked, dry mouth audible. Harper's smile returned, small and sharp. "You'll see." Amy looked up from her pad, voice thin. "Sir, the Korech just broadcast a kill count. They're bragging." The room went quiet. Ghost's lips curled back, not a snarl, not quite, a promise. Harper touched the table. "Ship's prep," he said on his throat mic. "Phase 1. "Phase 1, Jake asked. "Forest hunt," Harper said. "We start soft." He looked toward the door. "And then," he said in a tone that was almost gentle, "we bring the queen." The deck shuddered as the silent fang cycled open its sealed bay far aft. A far door, heavy and tall, began to split. Captain Amy's voice came from the overhead, thin with shock. There's something big in their hangar." Harper nodded once, yes. The door finished opening, and a long, dark drop pod hung in a rack like a bullet that wanted to be let go. "Meet Protocol 7 Alpha," Harper said. The pod locked into a cradle, the cradle armed, the bay floodlights flicked to a strange amber. Ghost looked up, ears forward, respectful. The wolves did not bow, predators do not bow, but the way they stood said they knew a higher peak existed, and they were glad for it. Harper put a hand to his earpiece. "Queen," he said softly, "hunt well." The drop cradle released. The pod shot toward Kepler 442b without flame, without sound, a falling promise. Jake's breath left him. "Colonel," he whispered, "what did you just drop?" Harper's answer was calm and terrible. "Our apex." The pod fell, invisible to Korach scans. On the tactical, the enemy ground units shifted into assault lines, neat and proud. The Zephyrian shield over Aurora Falls flickered like a tired eye. "Begin," Harper said. The wolves howled as one, soft, sure, like old thunder behind mountains, and the hunt began. Kepler 442b was a garden cut from glass. From orbit, you saw seas pale as cloudy jade and land the color of moss. Up close, the forests were spires of living crystal that hummed when wind moved through them. Each tower grew from a base wider than a house and lifted into the sky like a frozen song. Leaves were thin plates that clicked softly together, and when Zephyrians passed, the trees chimed a little greeting. The drop pod struck near the largest Korach encampment, with the soft hiss of air burning at the edges. It cracked into a meadow of low blue grass and sank 1/2 meter into dark soil. Inside the pod, the restraint bolts slid back. The door sighed open. She stepped out. She was called Queen not because she ruled, but because every living thing understood her place. 15 feet from nose to tail, shoulder high as a man's chest, striped orange and black across thick muscle. Her eyes were gold wine in a crystal glass, old and patient and calculating. The clear dome across her head fitted into a low-profile breathing rig. Condensers at her flank hissed and stroked her fur with the faintest fog. She tasted the air. Her whiskers read currents, heat, fear. She heard camp generators 400 meters away, boot scuffs, the faint high whine of Korach rifles charging. Her implant bristled with silent contact, and far away, a man's voice brushed her mind like a dry leaf. "Hunt well, my friend." Her answer was a sound like a purr and a promise. Colonel Harper and Ghost dropped elsewhere near the eastern tree line. The Panthers, Shadow and her sister Night, landed near the vehicle depot, black on black, vanishing even when you looked straight at them. Rex and the Shepherd pack touched down near the ridge that held the enemy comms repeater. The Eagles came high, their helmets shaped like knives, their vision maps painting the ground with heat and motion. "Liberty to ground," Sergeant Kate Morgan said, her voice clear in every partner's ear. 200 Korach in assault formation at grid 417, heavy weapons at the rear, shield breakers on carts, patrol of 10 with support drone moving along the creek. "Ghosts, that's yours." Roger, Harper said, "Ghost." The big wolf made 3 soft barks. His pack fanned into the crystal forest and became the color of shade. Queen watched, head slightly tilted, as a Korach officer strode to a map table at the edge of the camp. He was 8.5 feet tall, armored in layered plates of dark green scale, jaw ridged with bony teeth. He spoke like old stone breaking under a hammer, loud, proud. A sentry looked toward the meadow. He froze. He did not scream. Sometimes prey understand when the story has decided them. Queen moved. She did not charge like a fool. She flowed. 1 step, 2 steps, then she was beside the sentry and gently bit his throat, quick as a light switch, no mess. She set him down as if tucking in a child. A second Korach swung his rifle and shouted. Queen slid left. His shot burned a crystal pillar and made it sing a sharp, pained note. The man didn't get a second try. Queen's paw rose and fell, and he went to the ground as if sleeping. Panic rippled through the camp. Rifles lit. Plasma cut the air in bright lines. Queen flowed between them. A large predator in open ground should be easy to hit, but she did not run in straight lines. She did not think like an animal who feared noise. She thought like an engineer and a hunter, already watching where energy vents would heat the soil and where someone would step to aim. Liberty called, 2 shield breakers on carts moving to flank, Panzer lizards. On it, said Sergeant Lisa Bell. She and Luna, the dark brown she-wolf, arrowed through low brush. The carts rumbled on heavy tires, each with a boxy projector that coughed heat. The drivers laughed through fanged smiles at the thought of a soft city dropping. Luna came out of the brush like a shadow leaping from another shadow. She hit the first driver in the chest and rolled him off the seat. Lisa fired 2 short pulses into the projector's coolant lines. Steam screamed. The machine died. The second cart swerved. Rex's pack hit it from the other side, one shepherd biting the brake hose, another tossing a smoke charge into the open engine. Comms repeater marked, Rex barked in tight rhythm. Interdicting now. Rex didn't only bite. He planned. He trotted to the repeater panel and put his paw on a certain spot. The panel popped. His partner slid a relay clip in and set a worm to sleep in the enemy net. From orbit, Endeavor listened as the Korach tried to talk and could not. Inside Aurora Falls, Elder Luminara stood beneath the city dome and felt the crystal beneath her feet answer to the distant impacts. She closed her eyes and sang one line of old song, simple and strong, that taught small stones to be brave. The children around her went quiet at once. "Are the Starwalkers here?" a boy asked, voice like a glass bell. "They are," Luminara said. "They hunt with gentle hearts." He looked up through the shield and saw the sky ripple with heat. "Will the monsters eat us?" he asked. Luminara put her hand on his head, and the crystal hairs there glowed faintly from the touch. "Not today," she said. Harper and Ghost came to the edge of the enemy assault line. The Korach marched with drums thudding, their banners like knives, their shield-breaker crews chanting a low rhythm. It would frighten anyone who thought war was parade. Ghost set his teeth and made a short, rising yip. The pack fanned, wolves on left and right moved unseen in the crystal grove, paws soft on living stone. They had hunted elk for 1,000,000 years. This was easier. Elk did not carry plasma rifles, but elk also didn't bunch up when scared. "Harper to all teams," he said quietly. "Phase 1 be take the teeth out of their mouth." Night the Panther leaped from a crystal branch onto a heavy weapons team. Her claws were like new razors. She didn't linger. She cut the cables on the mounted gun, snapped off the targeting sight with one calculated bite, and flowed away as plasma tore the air where she no longer was. "Drone down," Liberty called. 2 more rising from rear. "Copy," Harper said. "Rex, give me a burp." Rex's partner flipped a tiny tube the size of a thumb. It launched a cluster of glitter, bits of tuned foil that spun and fooled the drone's optics. The drones followed the candy while Luna and a lean male called Slate jumped from below and dragged the machines into the brush where paws and teeth finished the job with efficient love. Queen slid past the main tent. The officer she had watched earlier stood there, roaring orders. He had a crest of bone along his scalp. Status marks were carved there, tally lines for long-dead victories. He saw her and bared his teeth in something that was not a smile. He lifted a gun the size of a child. Queen sat down. She looked at him with slow, bright eyes. He hesitated. It was enough. Harper spoke soft over the net. "Queens don't waste movement." The officer fired. Queen was no longer where he aimed. The bolt blew white through a crystal tree and left the air tasting like hot knives. Queen moved right and then left, and then she was close, so close that he smelled cold forest and the copper of his own fear. She put one massive paw on his chest and pushed him into the dirt, careful, controlled. She looked into his face for a heartbeat, as if to mark him and let him live. He would carry that moment like a bruise on his bones all his life. "Endeavor," Amy called. "Shield reading over Aurora Falls is stabilizing. Ground attack is slowing." Jake let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. How many enemy left? Harper, half engaged, a quarter fleeing into the forest, a quarter still brave enough to be stupid, will help them make better choices. "Colonel," Dr. Price cut in, "be careful of overextension." "Always," Harper said. Then Liberty's voice came tight. "New heat bloom, high atmosphere, Korach ships repositioning. Looks like, oh no, looks like orbital bombardment configuration." Jake's stomach went cold. "Phase 2, Harper said. "All teams to cover and hold, Queen." Queen looked up. Her helmet's edge reflected a thin line of sky. She made a low sound, yes. Rex barked twice, rhythm tight. "Evac lanes open, civilians ready." Harper, "Endeavor, start pulling them. We'll keep the ground quiet. If those ships light up, we climb." Climb with what, Colonel? Bill demanded. You can't jump to orbit from. Watch, Harper said. As if in answer, the ground itself vibrated as somewhere, unseen. A huge bay door on the silent Fang began to open, and things inside that bay woke up and knew the stars were their hunting ground. The silent Fang slipped out from the dark side of Kepler 442b and cut a cold line through upper air. Enemy plasma lit the sky, but the Fang moved like a fish that had learned each wave by smell. She rolled through fire and left no ash. Her side bays cracked open. Inside, rows of boarding pods hung nose to space, simple and mean. They were not sleek, they were tools. Launch pods 1 through 12, Harper said, calm. Roger, came the reply from a voice that sounded like a smile with edges. The pods spat out in pairs, pebbles cast from a sling, and vanished into space. Each carried 2 lives, a human in suit and a partner adapted for the void. Wolves and panthers wore flexible suits that sealed along their fur, joints like silk, claws free. Their helmets were clear. Dolphins had compact rigs like fast planes, fins magnetized for steel and strakes tuned for vacuum. Octopus partners slid into gel shells that kept their bodies wet and their minds clever. 8 long arms left the shell like roots. Colonel, Jake said from Endeavor, watching a dozen unknown problems open on his board. What are you doing? Boarding action, Harper said. We're going to make them busy. Those are warships, Colonel, with corridors and blast doors, and your friends have been eating challenges for breakfast since the Pleistocene, Harper said. His voice warmed. Pete, Splash, you're up. Copy, said Lieutenant Pete Johnson. The camera on his suit winked. A dolphin's sleek head bumped into frame, eyes bright. Pete laughed. Splash says hi. The pod hit the Korach destroyer Death's bite with a clang that jumped through hull and ribs. The mag teeth stuck, tools whined, metal peeled. The hatch fell inward like a coin. Pete and Splash drifted through vacuum into a corridor lit red. 2 Korach security soldiers turned and raised rifles. The dolphin flicked her tail once, a short, sharp kick, and shot at them like a torpedo. Her suit's leading fins unfolded with a sound like knives opening. The first rifle broke into 3 neat pieces. The second soldier's jaw hit the wall. Pete slid through, boots kissing steel, and put 1 calm pulse into the overhead panel. The corridor's gravity hiccuped. The soldiers floated, slow, confused. Splash tapped each with a fin to spin them. They lost orientation and dropped their guns to grab the air. Endeavor, Amy whispered, watching the feeds. They're actually doing it. Of course they are, Dr. Price said, more to herself than to anyone else. On another ship, an octopus named Inky slid out of her gel shell into a maintenance shaft with the caress of a silk scarf moving through a ring. Her helmet gleamed like a bubble. Her human partner, Chief Warrant Sana Hale, followed, tapping a code on her wrist pad. Inky, Sana said, you want dessert. The octopus flashed a pattern across her skin, bright, pleased. She wrapped 2 arms around a bundle of cable as if it were a new toy and reached 6 arms toward 3 different junctions. In less than a breath, she owned the door locks, the lighting in 2 sections, and the flagship's self-destruct access. Flagship just told itself to have a nice day, Sana said on open mic, amused. Tell it we mean it, Harper said. Back on the surface, Queen trotted to a ridge where she could see the sky and the crystal city. The shield over Aurora Falls wavered, then steadied, then wavered again. Zephyrian evac lines moved like gray threads through mosaic streets. Each citizen wore a coil of light on one wrist that showed heart rate and calm. When the line paused, children touched the crystal walls and sang the little song that calmed them. Luminara stood at a crossing and directed people with soft hands and a voice that never climbed. She did not look at the sky even as it boiled. She looked at faces. She met eyes. A trembling girl clutched a green herb root to her chest as if it were a doll. The root's small, bright hairs curled around her fingers. Do I have to leave my plant? She asked. Bring it, Luminara said. The stars are wide, they have room for 2. At the shield edge, a Zephyrian guard, one of the few who wore anything like armor, saw a shape high in the sky and felt his knees weaken. Bodies falling. No, pods rising, sleek black seeds. He did not understand what they were, but he understood the message inside his bones. We will meet them where they live. Colonel, Jake said, watching the first 2 Korach ships flicker with enemy fire from inside their own hulls. You've got maybe 20 minutes before they try to burn the city from long range. We'll take 10, Harper said. Queen. Queen made two low sounds, measured. She looked to the west and blinked slow, then to the east. She padded through the trees like a bright piece of sunset. The forest sang a warning line and then fell quiet, as if it, too, held its breath for what came next. On the enemy flagship, War Leader Graxoth stood at the command rail, scales shifting dark and darker. His crest bones were covered in old marks. He had never lost a planetary assault. The shame of the ground failure clawed at his belly, and the fear of something bigger than shame probed his throat. "Status," he snapped. "Boarders," his security chief said, voice strained. "Multiple ships, small pods attached along the dorsal curve. They cut in, they move in twos." "Kill them," Graxoth said. "We are trying," the chief said, his tail twitched. "They are different." An image flashed on the bridge, camera feed from Deck 12. A wolf in a suit loped down the corridor, the suit's paws gripping the deck like hands. A human moved beside the wolf, rifles at low ready. A Korech squad fired. The wolf slid into a side door, the human dropped flat so a bolt burned just over his spine. Then the wolf came out on the other side and hit the squad's rear with teeth and calm, practiced violence. Graxoth hissed. "Activate the scalders," he said. "Boil those corridors." The chief tried, his hands flapped. Systems not responding. On another screen, an octopus in a bubble looked up from a control panel and waved one arm. Graxoth roared. The sound shook dust from the rafters. He pointed at the main gun officer. "Target the city," he said. "If we cannot take it, we will turn it to stone and glass. Fire on my mark." "War Leader," the officer said, eyes flicking to the side. "Our ground troops." "Will die with honor," Graxoth said, and his voice was like a blade on bone. On the ridge, Queen lifted her head and listened to a sound no Zephyrian ear could hear. Her implant whispered vector and heat curve. The enemy guns would light like false sunrise. They would burn the air until it screamed. Harper's voice came gentle. "Shall we?" he asked. Queen did not roar. She did not need to show the forest who she was. She stepped onto the flat top of a crystal rock and crouched. Her tail tip drew a little S in the air. "Silent Fang," Harper said. "Release the lines." On the Fang's belly, 4 doors opened. From them fell cables as thin as hope and as strong as math, carrying hooks that bit like good teeth. They swung out, bright glints in thin air, and caught the edges of enemy hull plating like spiders catching a bee. "Queen," Harper said, voice lower, "ready for a walk." Queen gathered herself. She ran and leaped. She did not leap into the sky like a cartoon hero. She leaped across a crystal gap to another rock, then to another. Then her suit's back gasped and the boosters put just enough lift under her body that her next leap went farther and her next farther still. In 3 bounds, she crossed a canyon. In 5, she was climbing a crystal tower that hummed like a song too low for human ears. On the 8th bound, she hit the tower's edge and sprang out into empty air. Endeavor's bridge fell silent as the tiger arced against the sky. The line from the Fang swung, found her midair, hit the grab ring on her back with a hard click. The cable took her weight. She swung once, curled like a dancer, and released. She was a bright orange comma crossing into space. She hit the hull of Graxoth's flagship with 4 perfect thumps. Her magnet pads held. Her claws bit raw metal through suit gloves. She paused a heartbeat, tasting the cold vibrations of a living ship. She looked toward the bridge. She began to climb. The outside of a warship is a hard thing. The skin is layered metal and ceramic. It hates claws. The angles are bad for paws. The temperature swings like a mood. But Queen had climbed frost-rimed cliffs that killed men and crossed steel bones of collapsed buildings on worlds where she had hunted human war criminals. She understood how to move when the ground did not love you. She climbed in short leaps, magnets kissing hull every time. Her suit whispered air into her mask and took it away again, quiet as a cat needing a blanket. Her breath never rushed. Graxoth's gunnery officer stared at the bridge screens. "War Leader," he said, voice very small. Graxoth turned, ripples moving over the plates of his neck. "What?" "There is a creature on our hull." The screen showed orange and black stripes moving like fire. Graxoth bared his teeth. "Shoot it." "With what?" the officer asked, and the truth inside the question made even Graxoth's tail still. If they fired the main guns at that spot, they would burn their own eyes. The small turrets could not depress to that angle. The point defense lasers tracked meteors, not living stripes. Graxoth settled for old pride. "She cannot get in," he said. Queen reached a seam where 2 plates met. She sank her forklaw into the thin line, found the lip and pulled. Her rear claws scrabbled, then gripped. The seam groaned open a finger's width, not enough for a tiger. Enough for a tool. Liberty, Harper said. Mark. Bridge skin 3 meters left of current position, Liberty said. Behind that plate, pressure equalization valve and a conduit you can compromise. Harper, copy. Queen tapped the pipe. Queen had never been trained to use a wrench. She had learned better, the joy of attention, the reward of the right gesture, the memory of 1,000 solved puzzles made into a shape called instinct. She placed her paw on the seam, found the valve by the soft hum behind the metal, and slid her claw in. She flicked. The valve bit. A little bubble of frozen air puffed into space. She flicked again, and the pipe bent. Inside the bridge, a soft hiss kissed the air. It should have been nothing. It was something because Inky was already inside the ship's head and told the valve to open a little more. Not enough to kill. Just enough to make pressure whisper in the ears of every officer and to make the emergency system work the wrong problem. A side door opened to balance pressure. 2 guards turned, confused. Harper's wolf partner on that ship, a red male named Rust, slid through the opening like a ghost. His human partner nodded a quiet thanks to Queen's shadow on the glass and moved toward the bridge's inner door where Graxoth's flag guards stood, jaws set. On the surface, evac lines flowed smoother now. The Zephyrian emergency guide sang in shifts. Each line sang a different note, and the notes wove together into a soft rope that people could hold with their ears. Luminara felt the song wrap her heart and keep it strong. A Zephyrian farmer with hands like old roots grasped her shoulder. "Elder," he said, voice low, "I was wrong to vote for closed borders. We needed to be braver." "We are all braver today," Luminara said. He looked up through the shield, "And so are our friends." At the shield's edge, Jake Morrison watched pods rise and arc and latch and open. He had never liked war, not even in training. He had joined the Explorer Corps to map star tides, to bring home new soil for greenhouses. He had never expected to learn that Earth's greatest weapon wore fur and loved to nap in sunny windows between hunts. "Evac count," he asked. "Amy, 74,000 clear so far." "How many in the city?" "Nearly 2 million. Dr. Price said, reading the Zephyrian data feed. Jake did the math in his head. He did not like the answer. "We need hours," he said. "We have minutes." "Give us 10 more of those minutes," Harper said across the net, and Jake could hear him smiling. On the flagship bridge, Rust's partner slid a charge the size of a coin into the seam of the door and stepped back 3 paces. The coin popped, quiet and decisive. The door side opened the width of a palm. Rust flowed through that palm like mist. A guard looked down and saw teeth and then saw nothing. "War leader," the security chief whispered from the rear console. "They're at the door." Graxoth turned. The door opened wider. A tiger's face filled the bridge window from outside. A dream seen through glass, calm and wrong. For a breath, nothing moved. Queen tilted her head. She looked through the bridge glass, through scared guards, and met the war leader's eyes across vacuum and culture. She did not snarl, she did not drool, she simply looked. Graxoth felt an old story drain into his gut like ice water. On his home world, long before ships, his ancestors had told tales about walking into the dark and meeting the bigger dark. The tales always ended with humility or with bones. He remembers his pride. It has always saved him. He lifted his chin. "Fire," he said, pointing to the city below. "Burn them." The gunnery officer swallowed, hands shaking. He touched the panel. The main guns began to lift, slow, immense. "Now," Harper said. On 3 ships at once, Octopus partners opened the wrong diagnostic ports at the right time. Pressure equalization valves sighed. Emergency dampers released. A row of coolant doors along the gun conduits slid shut and stayed shut. The guns tried to charge. Heat had nowhere to go. The flagship shuddered as relays popped like seeds in a pan. The bridge lights flickered. Smoke tickled the air. Graxoth hissed, "Fix it." "We can't," the officer said, horror moving his mouth like a puppet. Queen raised her paw and set it lightly against the glass, as if this were not a war but an introduction. Graxoth looked at the paw. It was the size of a plate. It was delicate and terrible. The bridge's side door opened fully. Rust's partner stepped through with the calm of an engineer walking into a loud factory. 3 guards lunged. Rust hit one in the ankle and drove him into the floor. The second's rifle snapped in half when a dolphin's fin replaced a hand and turned it into scrap. The third raised a blade and found a shadow panther sitting on his knees, eyes amber and charming, holding the tip of his tail between two claws like a coin. He decided not to move. Sana Hale stepped to the command rail. "War Leader Graxoth," she said, pleasant. "Hi, I'm Sana, this is Rust. Out there is Queen, we're taking your ship now, you may sit or lie down." Graxoth showed his teeth. "We do not." Queen's paw tapped the glass twice. "Decide." He sat. On the surface, a Zephyrian boy looked up as the sky stopped boiling. The bright lines that had been drawing death patterns froze and frayed. A sound like thunder came from high places, and then the sound of nothing, a kind of silence that is a gift. "Elder," he breathed. Luminara tasted salt and realized she was crying. She wiped her face and laughed at herself and kept moving people. In orbit, Endeavor's evacuation shuttle slid in under a crystal dome and took on the first groups of children, elders, and singers with trembling hands. Jake's pilot, a quiet woman named O, lifted them out with lips pressed thin and eyes fierce. "Amy," Jake said, "open a channel to the Korach fleet, general broadcast." "Open," she said. "Korach fleet," Jake said, voice steady. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Endeavor. Your ground assault has failed. Your guns are offline. Surrender and depart. Do not target civilians. If you do, we will see you again, and you will not like it." Silence answered, then static. Then a voice Jake knew from intercepted orders, Graxoth's, came through in a hard whisper. "Earth," he said, "you are small, we will remember." "Good," Jake said, "so will we." On the flagship, Inky's helmet glinted as she floated up near the ceiling and peeked at Graxoth upside down. He glared at her. She covered her eyes with two tentacles and then parted them to keep watching him. She flashed her skin with a quick little pattern that human kids had once called peekaboo. Sana smiled without showing teeth. "War Leader," she said, "we are going to send your ships away now. You will leave. If you return, you will meet us again. Some of us nap longer between hunts. We do not forget." Graxoth's jaw worked. Queen's paw slid slowly down the glass in a long, patient line. "Go," he snarled at last. The order passed like a cough through ranks. Engines leaned. Ships turned. The flagship bowed its huge head and pointed away from blue-green and toward the deep. They always keep one. A war leader like Graxoth never puts all his weight on a single leg. He had told a strike group to hold in cold shadow and wait. They were small ships built for speed, knives made to stab once and break. Their pilots were loyal to him and to old gods. He had ordered them to fly at the city if the battle turned. As the main fleet turned away under Queen's gaze, the strike group lit engines and came down like black hail. Liberty saw them first. "Fast movers, 9 at least," she snapped. "Burns like knives, trajectory, shield generators." "Silent Fang," Jake shouted. "Can you?" "Already moving," Harper said. But the Fang was on the wrong side of the planet for a straight shot. She could be fast or she could be there. Physics did not care for hope. "Ground teams," Harper said. "We are the shield." A wolf pack does not need to think long to decide. Luna barked once, high and clear. The pack ran to the city edge, climbed the glassy slopes where the shield emitters hummed like bees, and lay down in a line, heads out, tails in. It was not a tactic that stopped ships. It was a promise. "Not enough," Dr. Price said, heart pounding. We need something bigger." She looked at the city. She looked at the crystal towers. She looked at Luminara, standing with two hands on a street post, steadying a line of evacuees as they passed. "Elder Luminara," Dr. Price said on a direct channel, "do you have a city-wide sound system?" "We sing," Luminara said. "Our buildings carry it." "Can your buildings, can they do more than carry it?" Luminara understood. Her people had no weapons, but they had lived with crystal for 1,000 years. Sound was not only song, sound was force if you asked it right. She turned to the nearest pillar and pressed her palm. It lit beneath her skin. "Aurora Falls," she said in a voice that reached into stone. "Children of light, this is your elder, we need the deep note." Across the city, singers stopped and lifted their heads. They had practiced the deep note for storms, when winds tried to rip roofs and flood broke the beautiful channels. The deep note made the city hold itself together. "Now," Luminara said. She sang one low, pure line. Others joined. It began in streets. It moved into walls. It moved into the ground. The city answered. The deep note hummed into crystal, and then the crystal hummed back louder, and the hum rose into the air like a hand. The first strike ship hit the edge of that sound. It wasn't a physical wall. It was a field of moving pressure that threw off guidance and bent metal just enough. The ship shuddered. Its course kinked. It scraped the shield dome instead of drilling through the emitter. It skated off, leaving a burn instead of a hole. The second did not correct fast enough. It tried to cut, but the hum reached into its skin and shook bolts loose. Its nose dipped, and it slammed into a crystal tower that flexed and did not break, then slid to the ground and went into pieces. 2 diverted, Liberty called. 7 remain. Silent Fang, Jake began. Door, Harper said. Queen had been climbing back along the hull toward a launch bay. Rust had learned her smell. He met her at the portal and tossed a clip across the gap. She caught it in her teeth, the old game they loved where he threw a coin and she saved it before it could fall. She flicked the clip into a latch and opened the bay with her paw. The bay yawned. Inside, 3 of the enemy strike ships waited to launch. Pilots sat in cockpits and hunched, hungry. They gunned engines as the bay opened. Queen walked inside. Pilots looked up. The tiger filled their world. She did not need to fight them all. She needed to touch the right place. Her paw hit the release for the bay's pressure doors and then raked the control that told the ship's brain the bay was already empty. The bay equalized to the vacuum outside in a slap. 2 strike ships tumbled before they could launch and crashed into their bay mates like dice in a cup. A wing broke off, spinning. A pilot screamed, and then the sound went away as the air did. Queen slid back onto the hull, careful. 4 remain, Liberty said. 3 diverted, 2 down. Fang, Harper said, bring me teeth. The silent Fang cleared the horizon like a shark clearing a reef. Her side bay opened and 4 little darts slid out, fat-nosed and blunt. They were not missiles. They were masses with minds. They wanted metal. They felt heat. They did not explode. They hurt things in quiet ways. They found the last 4 strike ships like seeds finding cracks. 1 dart stuck to a cockpit and ate the screen. The pilot punched it with his fist. He yelped, shaking his hand as he learned that the dart did not care about bones. 2 more darts wrapped themselves around a ship's engine bell like ivy that had grown too fast and too bright. The engine coughed once and then lay down to nap forever. The last dart missed, hit the hull, bounced, and stuck to an antenna array. Liberty made a small noise of apology into the net. Oops. Good enough, Harper said. The last strike ship rolled in frustration, then committed to a run. It dove like a hawk with a broken tail. It would not hit exactly where it wanted, but it would hit. It would be enough to tear a seam that the shield could not bear. Luna rose. She looked at the sky. She looked at the children under the dome. She did not ask permission. Luna, Lisa began. Luna ran. She pounded up the crystal slope and leaped from the highest point of the emitter tower straight into the path of a ship that weighed as much as a house. Wolves cannot stop ships, but sometimes they can catch a moment with their teeth. She hit the nose. Her claws found a seam. The ship bucked like a horse. Luna held for 2 heartbeats, and in those 2 heartbeats her weight pulled the nose a fraction to the left. It was enough. The ship scythed along the dome and plowed into the road outside the shield. It exploded in a blossom of wrong light. The blast blew Luna free. She tumbled like a falling log. She hit the ground and did not move. Luna, Lisa shouted, voice cracking. The net went quiet. Every heart that loved a paw beat faster and then held. Harper's voice came, clipped and kind. Medic. A shepherd with a small cross patch on his vest ran like a storm wind. He ducked under an arch of shaking crystal and slid beside Luna as if arriving on ice. He put his nose to her nose. She opened one eye. He wagged his tail and laughed in sharp little huffing barks. She's good, Lisa said on a sob laugh. You crazy, brave girl. Luna put her head in Lisa's lap and closed her eyes again, tired and pleased, like a wolf who had caught a car and gotten away with it. Strike group neutralized, Liberty reported softly. Evac continues, Amy said, voice thick. 140,000 clear. Queen, Harper asked. She was panting a little now. She stood on the hull and watched the last enemy ships turn their tails to the planet. She blinked slow. She wanted a soft place to lie and a large bowl of water and a hand she trusted to scratch behind her ears. Soon, Harper whispered, I know. On Death's Bite, Pete Johnson floated over a Korach crewman who had curled in the corner and covered his face with his hands. Splash nosed the crewman's tail tip, gentle. Pete looked down. He had seen Korach heads on pikes in a training vid. He had expected to hate always. "Hey," he said, "we're done." The crewman peeked between his fingers and saw a human face behind glass and a dolphin face beside it, bright and curious. He did not know what to do with that. "Go," Pete said, pointing toward an escape pod. "Home." The crewman scuttled, confused and grateful and angry. Hatred has a hard time when someone lets you live on purpose. Harper spoke on the open channel. "Korach Fleet," he said. "Kepler 442b is under our protection and the protection of those who sing to Crystal. You are leaving. You will not come back." Graxoth's answer was low and tight. "We will remember." Queen put her paw to the glass one last time. She looked into the war leader's eyes not with challenge, but with something that surprised him more. Pity. She turned and climbed down. Zephyrian crystal grows like coral, slow and sure, taught by song. Over centuries, cities tune their bones to certain notes, comforting and strong, but stress can wake old lines in stone. The deep note that saved the city had stirred a resonance in the oldest pillars. The shield emitters, exhausted from heat and hope, began to hum the wrong way. Dr. Price saw it on her screen first, a pattern like a heartbeat going from steady to wild. "Elder Luminara," she said, urgent. "Your shield lattice is coupling with the old-growth pillars. If it climbs, it will find the city's resonant frequency." "What happens then?" Luminara asked, voice quiet. "It all shatters," Dr. Price said. "Everything becomes knives." Luminara's eyes closed for a breath. When she opened them, they were clear. "How do we stop it?" "Detune it," Dr. Price said. "We need an antidote. We need to detune the whole city by a hair from root to crown." Luminara nodded once. "We will sing," she said, "but the detuning must be exact. If we are wrong by a finger's width, we will make it worse." Rex barked twice, thinking. He set his paw gently on the console as if he could feel the math through the plastic. "Rex has it," Harper translated. "He can compute the shift from the shield hum in real time and feed a correcting note back." Rex's ears flicked. He liked when a hard thing became a plan. "Amy," Jake said, "give Rex a full feed of the shield harmonics." "On it," Elder Dr. Price said. "We'll send you the anti-note. You have to carry it through all the city." Luminara looked over the square. The evacuation line slowed to a halt as the ground itself thrummed. People looked around, spooked. A child cried, then another. Luminara lifted both hands. "Aurora Falls," she called, and her voice carried. "We need the new song, listen." Rex's partner sent the line. It came into Luminara's ear like a strange taste, bitter and sweet together. She nodded, set it in her throat, and sang. It was not pretty. It did not need to be. It bent pitches in ways Zephyrians did not like. It fought the crystal's desire to hum the old way. It asked the stone to be a little less itself, to step half a step from memory into a safer place. Singers all over the city followed, eyes closed, hands on walls, voices steady even when fear tried to climb their throats. The lattice hum wandered, slipped, searched, then began to move toward the new line. The city shifted underfoot like a ship finding a new wave. "Hold it," Dr. Price said through her teeth. "Hold." Queen had reached the ground. She padded into Aurora Falls through a gate where the shield shimmered thin and the crystal hummed harshly along her bones. She disliked it. It made her fur want to lift. But she walked on, slow, careful, and found a space in the central garden where she could see the elder who sang. Luminara saw the tiger. She did not falter. She reached a hand toward Queen. Queen stepped forward and set her head lightly under the elder's palm. Elder and Apex stood together as sound moved through stone and skin and into the air. Rex worked like a computer that loved. His ears twitched with each tiny change. His partner read his rhythm and adjusted the feed. The antinote drifted closer to a perfect counter. The hum of the lattice stabilized. The emitter towers sighed and their lights went from painful white to healthy blue. The old pillars stopped screaming and returned to their normal song, the one about holding weight and laying shadow. The city breathed again. And then a new sound came through the comms. Not a Korach voice this time. A person speaking Galactic standard with careful pauses and a tremor she did not hide. "This is Prime Speaker Surith of the Diplomatic Council," she said. "To the Earth ships and the hunters who are also friends. The galaxy has seen you, some fear you, some cheer. We request, We humbly request that you stand down your claws and talk. There will be consequences for what you have done. There will also be gratitude. We do not know which is greater." Jake looked at Harper. Harper scratched Ghost's neck. The big wolf leaned into his hand. "Consequences," Harper said softly. "There are always those." Luminara's song faded to a hum. She took her hand from Queen's head and turned to Jake's camera. "Captain Morrison," she said, "we will speak to those who wish to talk, but my people have one more need." "Say it," Jake said. "We need a promise," Luminara said, "the kind that does not vanish when diplomats grow afraid." Harper nodded. "You have it," he said, "but promises grow heavy, you must help carry them." Luminara looked at Queen and then at the wolves and then at the eagles riding air and sunlight. "We will learn," she said. "We will grow defenders from gardens and songs. Teach us how to stand so we do not always need teeth that are not ours." Harper smiled tired. "Deal." Jake rubbed his eyes. He felt 60. He felt 16. "Admiral Chen will want a call," he said. "She'll get 100, Harper said. Amy coughed a laugh. "Comms traffic is thick." Rex pawed gently at Amy's boot. She looked down. He wagged once. She reached to scratch his head and then hesitated. He snorted and pressed his head into her hand anyway. She laughed properly this time, the kind that shakes a person and lets some fog out. "Endeavor," Liberty said quietly. "Seeing small heat signatures in the crystal forest, not Korach, not Zephyrian, could be survivors or scavengers." "Scavengers?" Bill asked. "War never leaves a clean table," Harper said. Jake nodded. "Ground teams sweep, no more fights if we can help it, but no more stolen children." Ghost made a sound that was not a growl and not a song. It was a line drawn in sand. They moved into the forest again, softer now, listening. Zephyrians came out of hiding places under rocks and inside hollow trunks. Some shyly touched wolf fur. Some hid their faces from sharp teeth and peered through fingers. Children were brave first. They always are. A little Zephyrian girl walked up to Queen with a flower the color of early morning. Queen bent her head. The girl tucked the flower into Queen's collar where it rested against the clear dome. The tiger rumble-purred, and every human heart in hearing did something strange and aching. From orbit, Admiral Chen came onto the line. Her eyes were red at the edges. "Captain," she said, voice steady. "Colonel, well done. There are calls, some are warnings, some are offers, some are threats. Bring your people home when the Zephyrians can stand without you for a night." Harper looked at Luminara. Luminara nodded once. "We can stand for a night," she said. "We have learned a new song." "Good," Chen said. "Then we start the hard part." The message came from a torn relay buoy that dripped static and guilt. Inky coaxed it to speak while Sana hummed a silly tune to keep the octopus happy. The packet unrolled itself into text and then into a voice, soft, frightened, human. "This is Broker Nail," the voice said. "If you're hearing this, I'm dead. I sold a map. I lied. I told myself they were only raiders. It was the Korach. They gave me gold and promises. They used my route codes to slip past the patrol web. This is my confession. I left the proof in a lockbox at the Crossways station, berth 17, behind a panel. The key is my name said backward into the panel." The voice ended with a catch of breath, then quiet. Jake shut his eyes and opened them again. "Broker Nail," he said softly. "I know that name." "We all know him," Bill said. "He ran cargo favors and shady deals, friendly smile, hungry eyes." Dr. Price looked tired. "Humans did this." "A human did," Harper said. "One is not all." "But to the galaxy," Amy began. Harper nodded. "To the galaxy we will be both, the hunters who saved and the mouth that sold. People are messy, we are people." Luminara stood beside Queen in the garden. She listened as the translation moved the ugly sound into her ear. Zephyrians did not understand betrayal the way humans did. Their culture had sharp words for laziness and pride, but not for selling your neighbor for a handful of coins. She looked at Jake. "What do you do with such a person?" Jake thought of old law and new. He thought of jail cells and oxygen and the way regret chews the bones. "We try to catch them," he said. "We ask why. We keep them from doing it again. We pay the price we owe even if we did not do it ourselves." Luminara nodded. "Then start there." Harper rolled his shoulders. He had been on the hunt a long time. His scars ached when the wind changed. "Crossways is far," he said, "and loud. It is where hungry people shake hands without looking at eyes." "Can we go?" Amy asked, almost eager, surprising herself. Harper smiled at her. Yes, he said. You know comms, Crossways is all comms and lies and songs from places that don't exist. Jake looked at Queen. The tiger blinked slow. He did not like to ask more of her. He did not need to. Stay, he told her softly. Rest, guard. She needed none of those words to do all three. Harper's team stayed long enough to train Zephyrians in first steps. How to watch a forest without fear. How to sound a warning without breaking a throat. How to make a sling from crystal vine that threw a stone like a thought. The wolves showed children how to walk in a group and how to stop as one when the first stopped. The panthers taught nothing at all. They lay in sun and were watched. Example is a teacher with few words. The eagles rode columns of warm air and learned the town's smell. Endeavor took on a small group of Zephyrian volunteers, singers who wanted to go to Crossways and see the place where the path had bent wrong. Luminara chose one to lead them, a young woman named Vale, her crystal hair braided with thin green leaves. Vale's brother had died in Crystal Valley. Her hands did not shake when she tied her braid. Crossways was a station built at the meeting place of lanes that did not like each other. Its docking arms were antiques and experiments. Its bars were the kind that served drinks you did not ask the names of. Its truth lines were short, and its rumor lines long. Endeavor slid into berth 19. Berth 17 was reserved for Friends of Nail, which made something in Jake's belly go tight. Lisa, he said to his pilot, watch our back door. Aye, she said. Amy stood at the panel in berth 17. She said lion into the panel, the name backward. The seam popped. Inside were 3 drives and a small bag of coins embossed with a Korach sigil, a grinning skull with a snake in its mouth. Amy's hand shook and then steadied. Got it, she said. A shadow stepped from the corner. Leave that, it said. The man was human, thin, gray at the temples before his time. He held a cheap pistol like someone who had learned on a screen. His eyes were big and hollow. Nail, Jake said. The man flinched. You don't know me, he said. I know your voice, Jake said. Nail swallowed. He waved the gun. Don't take that, he said. It's my insurance. Insurance against what? Harper asked, stepping into view not like a threat but like an old tree that happens to be in your way. Nail's eyes jerked to him to the paw print on the collar. Fear jumped. You, he whispered. The animals, they said. Harper waited. Nail's gun sagged. He made a choking laugh. They said you were stories, he said, and I believed the gold instead. Behind Harper, a soft shape padded. Luna, stitches hidden under fur, came to stand where Nail could see her. She looked at him the way wolves look at a stranger who might be dangerous but is probably sad. Nail dropped the gun. It clattered and lay ugly on the floor. I didn't think they would kill that many, he said. I didn't think about kids. I told myself a story. People like me always do. Harper nodded. We all do, he said. The difference is what we do next. Nail slid to sit on the floor with his back against the panel. He looked very tired. I can give you names, he said. People who wanted to buy maps, people who hate the singers. They make toys out of crystal. They think the Zephyrians are harmless. His mouth twisted. Vale stepped from behind Amy. She wore a simple gray cloak with a small leaf pinned near her throat. Nail flinched like she had stabbed him. I am Vale of Aurora Falls, she said. You sold my brother's street and called it a corridor. Nail looked at his hands. I did. Why, Vale asked. He breathed out. Because I was scared, he said. The Ravagers had already asked me twice. If I said no again, I thought they'd cut me into parts. I told myself if I gave them one, they would go away. They never go away. Vale's voice softened. I know that now, she said. Nail looked up, shocked. You're not going to kill me. Vale's eyes were bright and hard and kind. No, she said. We don't do that. We will take your names, and you will come to our city and build walls. You will carry crystal. You will plant. You will listen when the elders sing the song of not breaking your neighbors with your fear. Harper raised his eyebrows at Jake. Jake smiled without humor. Restorative justice, he murmured, in space. Nail looked like a child who had been handed a heavy pail. I will, he said. I promise. Promises grow heavy, Harper warned. I know, Nail said. I will carry it. It took 6 weeks to set the new lines. Earth signed a compact with the Zephyrians and with 3 other peaceful worlds who had watched the feed in wide-eyed fear and hope. The compact said, we will teach you to stand. We will stand with you until you can. Some called it empire with soft paws, some called it kindness with teeth. It was probably both. Good things often are. The companion program came into the light. Newsnets filled with clips of wolves napping with alien children and tigers walking under crystal arches. There were also pictures of blood and broken Korach rifles. The galaxy argued with itself while the training fields filled with students who wanted to learn how to sing and how to see and how to set their feet. Ghost taught Zephyrian teens to move together through forests, slow at first and then fast, until they could weave between crystal trunks without a chime. Queen chose one sunny, flat rock as her place. She let children brush her fur with crystal combs and thumped her tail when they missed a tangle. She liked the little flower the girl had tucked in her collar. When it wilted, Luminara tucked in a new one. Harper had scars that ached in the rain and in the singing. He sat on a bench built of crystal and wood and watched children practice the deep note with the antinote threaded through it. Lisa Bell sat with Luna's head on her knee and wrote letters to a sister she hadn't spoken to in a year because of a dumb fight about a dumb thing that felt important at the time. Jake Morrison received a promotion and a new ship to command, bigger, heavier. He said no. He took Endeavor back into the dark with a new crew and two old friends, Amy on comms, Dr. Price with her sensors, a shepherd named Rex who liked to nap under the navigation console because it hummed like a nice thought. They mapped new routes not only for cargo but for calls for help. War leader Graxoth sat in his chamber and looked at his crest bones. He had scraped some old marks away himself. He did not like the feeling. He sharpened a blade and told himself he would find the hunters again and take their heads. He slept. He dreamed of orange and black and a paw on glass. Broker Nail moved crystal with hands that bled. He listened to elders sing and learned the names of stones. Sometimes he wanted to run. Sometimes he did. He always came back in the morning. He did not know if he would ever be forgiven. Forgiveness is not a simple door. It is a path with many places to sit and think. Vale became an organizer. She had a list of names, some of men like Nail, some of worlds who needed a friend, some of plants that grew well in shallow soil. She did not forget her brother. She did not let his name become a flag. She let it be a seed. Admiral Chen attended meetings where diplomats shouted in soft voices. She watched clips on her tablet of children petting queen and wolves showing old men where to step on wet rocks. She asked for bigger budgets and got them and then got told no and then got them again. She slept badly and drank tea with too much honey and sent notes to Harper that said, "You did good. Now do more, but rest first if you remember how." In the end, the galaxy did what it always does. It kept turning. New problems rose from old soil. New friends found old songs. The companion program grew. It did not become an army. It became a family that took long walks through dangerous neighborhoods and carried flashlights. On a cool evening under a twin sunset, Elder Luminara sat in the garden with Queen. The air smelled like sweet leaves and iron and rain that might come tomorrow. Children chased each other around a fountain made to look like a spiral shell. Ghost lay on his side with three toddlers using his ribs as a slide. He pretended not to notice and wagged his tail when one fell and then got up laughing. Luminara looked up at the sky. "I did not know the stars could be so kind," she said. "They aren't," Harper said, coming to sit. "They're just there. We have to put the kindness in ourselves and carry it to each other." Luminara smiled. "Then we will keep carrying." Queen lifted her head and looked at the horizon. Her ears moved. She heard a small sound from far away, an engine that coughed wrong, a rock that shifted under weight. Her whiskers said it was nothing that would break a child today. She let her head down again. She closed her eyes. Harper stood. He looked at Jake, who stood with his hands in his pockets and his face turned toward the stars. "Going back out?" Harper asked. Jake nodded. "Always," he said. "There's another song somewhere that needs a second voice." Harper shook his head, smiling. "You talk pretty for a man who says he hates speeches." Jake chuckled. "It's the company," he said, and he scratched Rex behind the ears as the shepherd rolled onto his back with a sigh that sounded like a small apartment opening its windows for the first warm day. The wind shifted. It brought a hint of oceans and a hint of train oil and something like cinnamon from a plant that did not know cinnamon but wanted to. The city lights came up one by one, the way stars do in a place with real night. On a high perch, Liberty fluffed her feathers and looked down on the square where a tiger slept like a mountain and a wolf laughed in his sleep, and a panther blinked from a shadow she had decided to share. She tucked her head under her wing and dreamed of clear skies. Tomorrow would bring new calls. Some would be ugly, some would be small, some would be jokes that needed telling in a bar where even the floor lied. That was fine. The pack would answer and the singers would stand with them. The galaxy had learned a thing that day on Kepler 442b. There are hunters and there are guardians. Sometimes they are the same. The difference is not teeth. It is the reason you use them. Queen's tail twitched. She dreamed of snow and light and a hand on her head. She purred like distant thunder, content that the cubs were safe. Above, the stars watched, which is all stars can do. And far away, in places where maps were still guesses, a new distress song began, thin as a thread. Endeavor turned her nose toward it. Hunt well, Harper said. Sing well, Luminara said. Hold steady, Jake said.